Year-old male stated that he was essayed in at least two separate occasions by four different perpetrators in South Carolina jail. Attorney for the man who is being held at the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center awaiting for trial for a drug charge stated that he was essayed repeatedly by multiple inmates and a detention center guard. Attorney Bakari Sellers from the Storm law firm, which is representing the man, stated that jail staff returned him to the same dorm where the first essay occurred after it happened. Quote, one essay is too many. One time is unacceptable. This young man was subjected to multiple essays by multiple perpetrators. They literally sent the victim back to the scene of the crime so he could be essayed again. The firm is also representing other clients who have also suffered inhumane, unsanitary conditions in the jail, along with other violent attacks and medical negligence. In February, Seller and attorney Alexandria Benevito wrote a letter requesting that the United States Department of Justice open a federal investigation into the issue at the jail. According to the reports in the letter, Benevito compared the conditions to a war zone and hell on earth. The sexual victimization of adult inmates continues to be an ongoing problem in jails and prisons around the country. A special report by the United States Department of Justice released earlier this year found thousands of victims of inmates on inmate abuse and staff on inmate abuse took place from 2016 through 2018. That misconduct was underreported by inmates, with only about a quarter of the incident reports by the victims, while nearly 20% of the subordinated incidences were discovered through investigation or monitoring. From 2015 to 2018, allegations of SA by adult correctional authorities rose 14%, and that was according to a 2021 Department of Justice report using data from the Justice Department's Bureau of Justice Statistics. However, the report only referred substantiated incidents that were investigated and found to be likely based on preponderance of evidence, which means that they were proved to have occurred more likely than not. Only about 38% of staffers face any legal action for substantiated and reported incidences. Only 20% of staff perpetrators of SM in jails and 6% in prison were convicted, pled guilty, were sentenced, or fined. The report also found that half of inmate on inmate and staff on inmate SA occur in jails and prisons that weren't under video surveillance. So the main thing I want to touch on first is the fact that you have a lot of these male individuals living double lives, right? You got a lot of these COs that are directly in there that decide that they want to uh, go into the exact same actions as the inmates. And no, these COs, the guys that work in the jail, they can freely go home, they can go out and date and all of these other types of things. So they don't have the exact same quote unquote excuse of a Felice Johnson, right? They don't have that same thing going on, right? This is not their home 24/7, right? This was not something that they were directly raised in or a system that they were just put directly into. They decided to be COs, but obviously they decided to work in these jails because they wanted to do a lot of things that they necessarily couldn't do, and they wanted to make sure that the people that they perpetrated against weren't going to be able to say anything, or even if they did say something, who was going to believe them? Who was going to stop them? Who has any evidence? Who's going to speak out? Who's going to be a witness, right? Right? That's what they go directly on. And then they'll have people within their circle that are in the exact same things as well. So again, I want to focus on the fact that you got a lot of these dudes here. It's telling you that you got a lot of these men here that are living double lives. But nobody wants to address that. Nobody wants to look at that. And then it's also very interesting how you will have other men that will report like, yo, this did take place, which is very embarrassing for them to do because, again, in society, if a man is to report anything of this nature happening, nobody's going to deem or look at this man as a man. They're not going to look at him as some type of protector or anything like that, because the main thing that women will sit up there and say is like, well, how are you going to protect me when you couldn't even protect yourself? right? So again, this is another reason why you don't have a lot of guys coming forth or being so forthcoming when it deals with incidences such as this taking place and happening. And this young man had this happen to him repeatedly on multiple occasions. How do you think that society is going to directly see him if he wanted to be an advocate, if he wanted to specifically speak out for other people who might not be able to speak out, who are afraid to sit up there and speak out? People are automatically going to deem him and place him into one type of box, right? Which is completely crazy, which is nonsensical. But I also want to showcase how it is that the system will foster this type of belief, this type of system. They will indoctrinate other people into this type of lifestyle so that they will commit the exact same acts, both within the prison system and the jail system and outside of the prison and the jail system as well, causing even more problems. Because again, these facilities are just meant to hold people. They're not meant to specifically correct anything that is going on, anything that is happening. And this is again why it is that they need to make sure that there's a separation between these types of offenders versus somebody who did, all right, you got a little bit of narcotics that you were found with, marijuana, right? You stole some alcohol or different. You need to have a separation. You need to have a separation. But like I said, because they want to breed a certain type of ideology, they want certain things to basically transfer, they're going to allow everybody to be with everybody. So you're going to have to just basically fend for yourself, which is completely ridiculous. And you can't depend on the CEOs to sit up there and realistically do anything because everybody's corrupt. Everybody's about themselves. Everybody's about money. Everything is about power and control. And the people that are on top are going to stay directly on top. Right. So again, I'm sorry for any of the guys out there that have had to go through this, going through the prison and jail system, or maybe even the juvenile system as well. I'm sorry for those guys that have had to face and go through these type of things, because you should not have had to face or go through these things. No person should have to face or go through these things, right? And I also want to list again, this is another reason why you have rates of male erasure, along with alcohol and drug use so high, because you have a lot of male victims directly out here who have gone through things such as this, and they don't have nobody to talk to. They don't have nobody to really advocate for them. They don't have nobody to really speak up for them, because at the end of the day, they know how it is that society is going to deem and see them. So, hopefully some legislation or something gets passed, but the only way that can realistically happen is by way of those who have actually been in the system. They come out and they start speaking about the things that they have seen, that they have experienced. And only at that point will there be some type of change that will actually occur. But of course, there's going to be some pushback, because you have a lot of people basically saying, so what? If you didn't commit the crime, you wouldn't have to do the time and you wouldn't have to deal with that, right? You have a lot of people on their high horse that are quote unquote the straight arrows, the goody two shows, and they'll sit up there and say a lot of those types of things, not understanding that you have a lot of people out here that have stated that they didn't commit a crime, but yet the system convicted them, even though the system has the proof that that person is innocent, but they just wanted to fill up another cell with another body. So, like I said, people got to understand that you're not that far away from being convicted of a crime that you never even committed and having to face and deal with certain ordeals such as this.